Welcome back to Newsday. Thank you for staying with us. Now, the drums of war around the constitutional crisis in Niger Republic assumed a louder decibel this past week. Ecowas spelling out a definite plan to militarily intervene in the West African nation if diplomacy fails to achieve a restoration of Mohamed Bazoum as president following a coup d'etat. Curiously, the regional bloc again had a delegation sent to Niger to meet with leaders of the junta also on the same week. Publicly pursuing these two approaches to a possible resolution of the crisis remains a matter of surprise to a lot of people. To what end, they say? Well, to have a discussion, we are now being joined by Dr. Obire, President of Good Leadership Advocacy for Africa. Good to have you, Doctor. Thank you for joining us on Newsday.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's begin with the statement that was, or an excerpt of the statement that was made by the coup leader when he said that ECOWAS is getting ready to attack Niger by setting up an occupying army in collaboration with a foreign army. Just wondering what you make of that statement in terms of how it applies to any diplomatic efforts here from here on out.
You know, there is a charter that formed the ECOWAS, and all ECOWAS countries are supposed to be bound by this. But with the situation of things happening in some part of Africa right now is really not encouraging. And ECOWAS have the sole responsibility to ensure that the member states keep to the agreements they have in forming the body. Now, there are different ways of resolving such issues, which I believe that ECOWAS as a body is already exploring. The issue of time is a major concern here because war is not really an option. And if those who have taken over the power from the president, the ousted president, are bent on staying in that office, it simply means that they are also ready to engage the regional body in a war in case ECOWAS decide to resort to that as the last resort. Because dialogues are going on, which is the very best way to go about this whole thing. There are issues internally in Niger, which ECOWAS also need to take some time to reflect on, because if you take a look at what had happened in Niger today, is because probably the juntas, they took advantage of the kind of leadership that was on ground at the time this thing happened, because African leaders really need to do better. They need to do better because the welfare of the people is a major concern. If the people are not properly governed, certainly when negative things like this happens, they tend to see it as if it's a way out for them for a better living. So they have met on Thursday in Ghana. I think the head of militaries from every of the countries, except those of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. I think some of them met in Ghana, and they have taken a decision But then, I still maintain that dialogue should continue so that we can restore peace and democracy back to Niger.
Very good, Dr. Obire. Now, Abdulrahmani Chiani is proposing a 3-year transition period of power, and ECOWAS, of course, the international community as well, wants a quick return to constitutional authority. What guarantees do we have that power will be returned to the civilians within that period? If you remember, not too long ago in Mali, Colonel Goita's rulership at some point truncated the interim government that was to run for 2 years, and within a short time, he's back in power. So what do you make of that scenario?
I think 3 years. 3 years is not acceptable. It's not acceptable because, like you mentioned, Mali, they gave a period of 2 years to be able to restore democracy back in governance in Mali. But as of today, they are the ones that are giving some backing to what happened in Niger at the moment. And this is not good because you look at Burkina Faso issue, now Mali, you look at even South Sudan and all that. We shouldn't encourage this style of toppling government because it should be a thing of the past. We should not go back to such ways of unconstitutional installation of governments. We look at the time frame that they have given. 3 years is a long time. It's a huge time for a junta to settle and continue in government. So I don't think ECOWAS should ECOWAS shouldn't accept such a time frame for democracy to return back to Niger. It should be as quick as possible.
I definitely hear you, Doctor. And earlier you mentioned that African leaders need to do better, and the welfare of people is a major concern. The people see such actions like what we're seeing going on in Niger as a way out and probably a better shot at a better way of living. This is when we see what's happened with the call for Nigerians to volunteer to support the army, and earlier on during the show we saw them come out and even state that they were willing to give their lives for a better chance of living. Isn't this an opportunity for ECOWAS to do a bit more listening to what the Nigerians actually want, as opposed to imposing what ECOWAS wants for Niger?
Yeah, like I told you, it's an internal crisis. It's an internal issue in Niger. ECOWAS as a body, in as much as they have the responsibility to ensure that democracy returns back to Niger, it is also very, very important for ECOWAS leaders to reflect on the issues and even find out more. Yes, they have sent some leaders across the ECOWAS states to go and dialogue with these people. The issue is very simple. If you look at what happened in '93 or thereabouts, I think Abacha was able to gather people to do a 1 million march. And so these things are not difficult for the military to do when they come to power. Because, one, like I said, the people must have had it to a point where they feel that taking out the president through the coup is the best option for things to get better. They are having the feeling that the military might restore a better hope for them. But it's unfortunate that we cannot accept and we cannot encourage unconstitutional for any form of unconstitutional government. We cannot encourage that, because if we do, it's a very big problem. And the people of Niger, they seem happy from what you see, but that's not the solution. These juntas, they took advantage of the style of leadership, the concern of the people, the hardship, and the style of government. Because across Africa, we are having dictators in a democratic setting. How do you reconcile a president sitting for 39 years? That's dictatorship. Is it because he's not wearing uniform? So we cannot. That's why I said African leaders need to respect their constitution. If the constitution says you must leave office in 4 years, leave office in 4 years. If the constitution says you should have 1 term or you should have 2 terms, accept and go with the constitution. But in a situation where African leaders, when they get into office through the democratic setting, they put their National Assembly in their pockets, and what happens? They discuss things that are not in line with the constitution, and they do their bids because of what is in it for them. So African leaders need to put away the issue of what is in it for me. If you are a legislator, you are representing your people, your constituency. What is your relationship? How do you interact with your constituency? Do you know actually what they want? Or what you're bringing back to them? Is that what they need? We should cultivate the habit. African leaders should cultivate the habit of engaging the citizenry. Engage them, know what they want, and not doing what you want for them. Because what you feel you want for them might not just be what they actually desire. And these things keep going on and going on like this. So if you sit in an office beyond what the Constitution approves, then you are a dictator. Or you go behind and amend your Constitution so you can remain in the office. That is dictatorship. That is a coup on the Constitution
all
itself.
right. If I may come in, Dr. Obire. Dr. Obire,
yes.
Yeah, very good. If I may come in, and you just alluded to the tendencies, dictatorial tendencies. We have the situation in Gabon where the coalition is trying to break, of opposition parties trying to break that line of succession between father and son presidency. Now, briefly, please, I would just like you to take this issue. We hear recent reports indicate Niger is now a hotbed of disinformation after the July 26th coup. There's been misleading video and, of course, audio clips on social media on situation there. So how is that affecting, the possibilities of whipping sentiments even among the populace and ongoing efforts towards engagement and diplomacy? Briefly, please.
The social media, in as much as is a good thing, it has done more harm than good. dissemination of information is very important to peace, is sacrosanct to peace. It depends on what the people take in, because what they take in is what reflects their reaction. Now, if we are giving wrong information out there to the people, it simply means we are misdirecting their mindset and their reactions. So I think what we should do and what should happen is for we to ensure that every information that is out there, for we to ensure that they are critically scrutinized and have some facts on ground, because there are people on ground. You have embassies in Niger, embassies of different Ecowas countries. They are in Niger. Some of them have not left, so embassies can disseminate the right information. What is actually happening in Niger? What are the mindset of the people? What is the streets looking like? It's not. We should not just focus on getting our information from what we see on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. No, we should go and we should have direct information from our foreign missions that are right there in Niger. That's the only way we can counter the wrong information pass and the right information of the reality on ground.
Dr. Obire, President of Good Leadership Advocacy for Africa, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. We appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you.